Brandon Hawkin has a chance for what could be a banner week. When it comes to his campaign in Ring Around the Roadies, it's been one of dominance. So far, 4 straight victories and several straight max point stays. As a result, his magic number, 22. That's the amount of points he needs to score tonight, including after drops are factored in, to come away as the champion heading into the season finale next week. But the question is, can he get the job done today at a very difficult track? And can Scott Heckard keep up the championship pace and bring to one final race of the 2020 season for Ring Around the Roadies? We're about to find out as we welcome you to the Brickyard Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana for today's coverage of the Ring Around the Roadies presented by Fort Worth Screen Printing. Today, it's the Overton Speed Shop, all brick, no bite, 75, here on SDN Racing. Good evening, I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Blake McCandless with Zach Johnson in the director's seat for what's expected to be a very tricky race. 29 laps on the docket at the Brickyard for what's expected to be a very tough race for these drivers with tons of fall off, tons of difficulties, and tons of pressure for some of our competitors.
And Justin, that's only going to get amplified tonight because looking out over practice, and of course we have qualifying going on at the moment, I don't think I've seen one race this year. Obviously, you know, we've been seeing a lot of great racing. We've seen plenty of difficult combinations for these drivers, some difficult road courses for them to tackle. But from what I've seen in practice, I don't think there's any course that is going to challenge our drivers more than this one right here. Again, we had the new build last week, so still trying to get used to that. But the amount of slides, the amount of self-spins that we've seen, particularly in what seems like a very dangerous part of the road course, getting up onto the oval, it is going to make it a huge challenge for these drivers. So this, more than any other race perhaps we've seen this year, is going to push these drivers to their limits.
Absolutely. Let's talk about how drivers have fared so far in the various different racetracks. For those who tuned in last week, it was a dominant one for Brandon Hawkin towards the end, though he was challenged by one Colin Fern with different strategies coming into play, and the McConey setup shop, no boot for you 100. In total, 66 points. A max points day was scored in the end by Brandon Hawkin. That secured him a 45-point lead without drops. Now, with drops factored in after the first four races, should note, there is a 41-point advantage over Scott Heckard. Behind them in the drops is Brad Perez with 150 total points on the season. Then it's a 2-point separation on back for Will Rogers. Then 2 points further back for Jacob Fisher to round out the top 5. So there is a good championship battle coming into play for third on back. But it's also the type of race where, especially since the stage points are going to be crucial with the drop week factored in, where that includes the race points total, mind you, it's going to be potentially where Brandon Hawkins can control his own destiny tonight as long as he outscores his competitors.
Well, and I don't think he would want anything different. And from what we've seen, he's obviously been dominant in this series. And, you know, I think that's exactly what he wants, to have control of his destiny right now. As you see another spin right there, we have seen that time and time again. Looks like getting off of turn 11 here, getting onto the oval section, of which, of course, the oval here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway is just on the entry of turn 2 on the oval. But turn 11 here has been a real trouble spot here in qualifying. And even I know Hawkin, who laid down a 129 flat to go to the top of the board, even he was sliding like crazy off of turn 10 and getting onto turn 11. This is such a high speed and slick part of this racetrack.
Let's take a look at your iRacing track profile for tonight's race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, shall we, on that note. 2.61 miles is our circuit distance tonight, Blake, as you talked about. Lots of danger zones around this 4.19 kilometer circuit, 13 turns, and look at that pit entry. That's expected to potentially swing a few drivers into the barriers. Was also talking with Monin Rumman before tonight's race. That transition from turn 12 to the NASCAR oval is going to be very treacherous today here at the Brickyard, the main oval, I should rather say, because of that differential and the banking of about 9 degrees to about essentially flat from turn 12 on towards turn 13.
Yeah, that banking transition has been really difficult for a couple of drivers. As we've continued to see, you kind of want to pick up the throttle on exit, it seems, as you get out on the oval. You do have a little bit of banking to play with there as you get off at turn 12, but it is right here as you see the Space Station gaming machine. That's probably one of the smoother transitions we've seen, and again, this is only going to get worse as the tires get heat in them, as they start to lose a little bit of that rear grip. Jacob Fisher able to do it cleanly that time to get to the start-finish line, but it is going to be something particularly on the long run. We've already seen it in qualifying, but especially once you get a couple laps on these tires, it is going to be a real challenge for these guys to try to hold their race car together.
You can see that time in the official speed, just under 100 miles an hour on average around the racetrack. Keep in mind, these drivers are trying to set the Fort Worth screen printing pole award time. For all your retail and contract screen printing needs, visit fwscreen.com. Shipping is available nationwide, as some of these drivers look to try and send themselves up the board here in qualifying. Keep in mind, tonight's race breaks down as this: stages, lap 6, 12 with the stage 2 caution, and the end of the race, lap 29, 50% fuel. Fuel expected to go 10 to 15 laps, but the fall off you talked about, Blake, 5 seconds for some drivers in practice, as Brandon Hawkins to the top of the board once more at 128.7 with the clouds above.
Exactly right. I don't think we've seen one race this year, even if you think about some of the tracks we've been to, Road America being one, where we've seen this drastic of a fall off. Sonoma was a pretty sizable one, but I don't think we're going to see any more than what we have right here. And again, this is with overcast skies. We're running 65 degrees, so the track temperature is only at 92. It's not very warm compared to a lot of the races we see. I believe 60 is about the lowest you can manually set the temperature to here in iRacing. So 65 is relatively cool, yet we are still seeing guys just slide all over the place. It's going to be, again, probably the biggest challenge we've seen so far this year, and I'm looking forward to it. It's really going to test these guys.
Currently, the separation from the top of the board to the bottom of the board, by the way, is 4 seconds already. Arnold Columbia, unfortunate for him, is at the bottom of the board at the moment at 132.8. He just so happened to also be mid-pack in practice. You can see that average speed of about 97 miles an hour. These drivers, though, have 2 new competitors who will be making their season debuts tonight. First is Victor Valley, who'll be driving the number 24 car tonight. He's from Slipstream Creative Media, known for his graphical work, also works in various different production companies in real life across real-world circuits. And then there's the second one, where it's a crucial one, where he's known for his experience in the SCCA, where he has won championships before in the past, especially with the U.S. Tour in 2019. It's Brian Horowitz. He'll drive the number 4 Nesquik Toyota Camry tonight. He's been an iRacer since the very beginning, from October 2008. Lion Brian, currently in 7th in practice, Valley 11th in the board, Blake.
It's really cool to see people who have really been around since the beginning. I know a lot of people refer to me as an iRacing boomer. It's kind of a joke because I've even been around the service since 2010. Of course, I was much younger at that time, and but it's nice to see people who, I mean, you have to think, if they were originally around when iRacing first came to be, you know, it's not been just iRacing for them. It was more than likely a lot of the old Papyrus titles, NASCAR Racing 2003 season, maybe even Grand Prix Legends all the way back in the day, that you would have seen a lot of these drivers be a part of. So it's very, very nice to see guys who have been pillars in the community for a very long time continue to enjoy the hobby that we know sim racing is.
You teed it up near perfectly, by the way. Sawyer Ott tonight is going to be actually throwing back to that, because this, of course, comes after the new build that took place a couple weeks ago. In fact, the first race back from that was essentially that night of the build. Now that there's been a week or so for the drivers to adjust and try out tracks like, say, iRacing Super Speedway, or try out the road course racing skills, how would you describe this type of build now for these cars, for this Cup car rather?
Well, I think the one thing, at least from my preliminary findings with it, and again, I'm just a driver just like everybody else trying to figure it out, but from what I've seen, particularly on the oval side, the way these stock cars handle is there's a lot more retention of tire heat than what we had in the past. There's not as much grip in these tires, so I think that kind of contributes to the amount of sliding around we see, and the fact that despite the low temperature, the low ambient temperature of 65 degrees, that we still see a fair amount of kind of rear tires sliding out from under these guys. So there's definitely that, and the fact that with the less grip, with more tire heat, you're obviously going to be working looser into a run. It's not going to kind of work tight or work loose depending on how you're driving the race car. It seems like it's getting a little bit looser. So again, we've talked about a number of times in this series how much keeping rear grip has always been a thing with these stock cars and trying to maintain their composure at road courses, but it just seems with this new build that is only going to be kind of amplified right now, because again, it is all about trying to keep that heat out of your tires to maintain the grip.
Your top 5 of the board right now is Brandon Hawkin, by the way, who still has that 128.7. He just crashed coming into the pit lane. Brad Perez currently in second, you've seen, with a 129.4 last time by. He's throwing back to Mark Martin's days in the now called NASCAR Xfinity Series and the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, essentially. Around 2007-ish was when this paint scheme hit the racetrack with the number 6 on the side of it at the time. Nice look to that Speed Visions machine, as that nice look is now at the Armco. On the bright side, as mentioned, he's second in front of Will Rogers, Jacob Fisher, Nicholas Sanchez, the top 5.
And see, that is the trouble spot that we've seen, turn 12. And, you know, I'm even trying to follow along with Brad Perez. It's just like those weird tires. They just slide, and if you barely have to counter steer, that's a major point. You're high in the RPMs. I think they'll be in second gear there to look in the shift to third, and that is just going to be such a trouble spot here. We'll see what this Dale Earnhardt inspired paint scheme, if it can do any different as it's working into this very troubled section of the road course. And you see he's able to hold it together, but again, they are going to be fighting that car, wanting to it looks like just over rotate there off the exit of turn 12.
That's Scott Heckard once again, who had no time in practice put in, 1 minute specifically in practice. He's up to second in terms of qualifying time, a 129.3, and finally getting to grips with this racetrack. Keep in mind, he came in late, as there is that potential possibility where he didn't have too much time, of course, with personal commitments to hit the racetrack. And now with the playoff pressure, or rather the championship pressure, he's put the pressure on for the start, potentially for Hawkin. Change that as Nicholas Sanchez up to second.
Sanchez had a pretty interesting week last week. A lot going on. A couple of different drivers out there. It was Nate Stewart that it seemed like he tangled a little bit with him last week, but nice to see he comes out here and it performs much better. To see him up on the board in second, obviously DeGlenn was no slouch at that before he had some of that contact with Nate Stewart, but my goodness, I don't think we could have expected here to see Nicholas Sanchez up P2 on the board. So perhaps some experience with this racetrack paying dividends there for the 007.
Absolutely. Less than a minute to go in qualifying here. And right now, Hawkins still in control of the pole by half a second. Track temp, keep in mind, has dropped to 89 degrees Fahrenheit. One of the drivers to keep an eye on tonight, though, is Blake McCandless, and he's one of the couple who are doing double duty, essentially. It's been a busy week across iRacing for various different events, including for a lot of high price totals, to say the very least. Colin Fern, one of those drivers who spins around. Keep in mind, he mentioned he spun around in every single section of the racetrack in practice today. He, as well as Will Rogers and Jacob Fisher, among the organizations who are having very busy nights in preparation for this race and many others across the service.
They are. I know the E-Racing Association putting together a pretty high-dollar event tonight at Nashville Fairgrounds Cup cars. I know there were 26 heats, if you can believe that, top 2 from each heat. So that is a grueling kind of set of circumstances to have to go through to qualify for a race. But it's nice to see, obviously, all these iRacing events come together and allow these guys to run in leagues like this, but also be able to look forward to something that is totally different. I know there's a big change going from this road course to the Nashville Fairgrounds, but that's what's so nice about iRacing, is being able to experience all these different types of racetracks at the same time. We'll still see everybody running in these cup cars in that one, but obviously be just turning left in that one. And of course, Nashville Fairgrounds, I know, personal favorite of mine to be running out here. It's a really, really, really nice racetrack.
John Garrett, the last driver who will put in a time in qualifying. Everybody else is wrapped up. He's 13th, check that, 14th in qualifying. 132.6, not able to put in an official time to end off qualifying. So that solidifies your starting grid for tonight's Overton Speed Shop. All brick, no bite, 75. On that quick note, we'd like to remind you that the Overton Speed Shop is a team which creates official and custom setups for Marconi Setup Shop. For more information, find them at Facebook at facebook.com/Overton Speed Shop, one word, or on Twitter at Overton Speed Co. As John Garrett's given some time to slide to the grass and try and warm up his tires a little bit more for some extracurriculars, let's take a look at how they'll start, shall we, for tonight's action here on SDN Racing for Rain Around the Roadies, presented by Fort Worth Screen Printing. As your Fort Worth Screen Printing Pole Award tonight goes to one Brandon Hawkin. For Brandon Hawkin tonight, it was a 128.753 in qualifying. That gives him a $5 award plus 3 bonus points. For all of your retail and contract screen printing needs, visit fwscreen.com with shipping available nationwide. All the drivers now making their way towards the starting grid. As mentioned, as you can tell, they're ready to line up behind the iRacing safety car. It's Nicholas Sanchez who will start alongside Brandon Hawkin tonight. A stellar qualifying run for Sanchez after temper last week. Scott Heckard will start in third tonight with Brad Perez, another strong qualifying run in fourth. Will Rogers rounds out the top 5. He'll start alongside his Space Station Gaming teammate in Jacob Fisher, with Colin Fern from Brandon Built Motorsports starting in 7th. Devin Mistak has been having some good runs. He starts in 8th, his best qualifying performance in the past few weeks. Well, Landon Sabile will start in 9th, while Brian Horowitz in his season debut rounds out your top 10 in the Nesquik car.
Knowing P11 will be a familiar face that we've seen a couple of times. Arnold Columbia starts in the 11th position. 12th will go to the Kentucky Racing Zone. Dylan Poe, 131.713 on the board. Victor Valley, he starts in the 13th starting position. 14th will go to John Garrett in the Fort Worth Screen Printing Machine. 15th goes to Sawyer Ott. 16th to Benjamin Branscombe. Starting 17th, he was the final driver to pull a time in qualifying. Was Elaine Hughes on the inside of row number 9. Outside of row number 9 will go to our Eye in the Sky, although I believe he may just be an Eye in the Sky. Not sure if he's going to be driving here, Will Rahman. So it'll be 19th or 18th rather. We'll go to Nate Stewart. 19th will be Jacob Armstrong. 20th, AJ Henderson, the controller king. He'll make his way out onto the grid as well.
So AJ Henderson able to make a late appearance here. We'll see how he does tonight from shotgun in the field with no practice time, no qualifying time. Oh boy, let's put it that way. Again, championship not clinched quite yet of the points, but there is the chance for tonight, especially with the stages ending on lap 6 and laps 12. Stage caution will be at lap 12. Wow, this race will finish at lap 29 tonight for the Overton Speed Shop. All brick, no bite, 75. Again, your track conditions, 92 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment. Most quality skies, 65 is the air temp Fahrenheit. In sim day is August the 15th, 2020, just past 3:25 p.m. local time, with no wind for the most part outside of northern winds to 2 miles an hour. Humidity, 56% for this one. So 21 drivers make it to tonight's starting grid overall. Matt Sherry will be a DNS for this evening. As these drivers now roll their way onto the starting grid, your expectations first of all, Blake.
expectations, I have to say, compared to every race we've had this season, I think this one is probably the most up in the air of any time we've taken the green flag, because again, we have seen how much of a struggle it has been for these drivers in practice on just 1 or 2 lap fresher tires. I don't think we've seen a lot of guys be able to make a bit of a longer run here thus far. So it is going to be it's going to be a real test for these guys. Going to probably see a lot of drivers just try to get to the end of these stages, and that's the biggest thing. You just don't want a mistake. You don't want to spin the car out. At the end of the day, you're just running your own race. That's what makes this series a bit of a challenge for everybody. We obviously know Hawkin has been dominant this season, but for everybody, just being out here running this race, that's going to be the biggest case, and just not making a mistake, not getting those rear tires heated up, because once you do, it's hard to get them cooled back down.
60 miles an hour, by the way, the safety car speed right now. Very quick pace lap, mind you, for this racetrack. With that, your quick keys to victory tonight to find your way at the top step of the podium.
From what we've seen, just managing your rear tires through turn 11 and turn 12, it seems to be the biggest thing that will lead to success tonight. And we'll see if Brandon Hawkin, you see right there, 7,000, north of 7,000 I rating here in road course racing. That is a rare feat. That is elite level right there. We'll see if he can keep it between the lines, as well as some of your favorites tonight. Scott Heckard, Nicholas Sanchez, a surprise run on the front row. He had an incredible qualifying time, so we'll see what he's able to do. But I think at the end of the day, Justin, just we've seen a lot of mistakes in practice. You're going to want to limit those to help your run tonight.
We're all set to go from the Brickyard. Tonight's coverage of Right Around the Roadies is underway from Indianapolis. A heck of a start from Heckard, pushes the back into Hawkin, while Sanchez and company caught sleeping on the top side. Sanchez already shuffled to 4th as everyone dives 2-3 wide in the first corner.
Oh, one huge hit. Sawyer Ott hard gets tagged from behind as they worked it into the first corner. Dylan Poe tagged him, and Ott has some pretty significant damage. One car's off the track. It's Colin Fern here through turn 3 and 4.
Oh, and Sanchez spins across the nose of Brandon Hawkin. Heckard's in the lead. Sanchez trying to save it. He's able to hold on to it as they dive underneath him. Columbia and Mistack able to dive underneath. That was after side-by-side between Heckard and Hawkin into the first corners. Fern having an adventure off into the sand trap again.
Yeah, it has not been a good opening lap for Colin Fern, who's been off the racetrack 2 times, but they are still battling hard here. They are 4 wide. Oh, the 17 spins on the straightaway. It's going to take out Sanchez, Sabile. Oh, man, they were 4 wide. Devin Mistack, Arnold Columbia. That was on the straightaway. That's the easiest part of the road course. Sabile now, he gets spun and sent through into turn 11, or yeah, turn 9 is it, by Nicholas Sanchez. So, oh man, what an opening lap we've seen, Justin.
And Sabile from JD Motorsports again off the racetrack. What a first lap. This has been the wildest first lap of the season, I would be fair to say, as Hawkin now already back in the draft of Scott Heckard, separated by 0.2 of a second and the first lap, and what has been a wild Overton Speed Shop all brick, no bite 75. Among the drivers using a faster pair to start off this race, Elaine Hughes. She's had a crash at the back of the field. Couple others electing to come down as well, including Branscombe with trouble down the front stretch. Everybody else still keeping things going until the end of the stages.
A little try, but Elaine Hughes, Benjamin Branscombe, Devin Mistack, Sawyer Ott, Sabile, Columbia, just a handful of names, Dylan Poe, so many drivers. Sanchez, I believe Stewart was able to sweep on through, but Horowitz, basically everybody who's not in the top 5 was somehow involved in an incident on that first lap. And again, shocking that perhaps the biggest one, Justin, was again working right down here. This long straightaway between turn 7 and turn 8 is where we saw things go south. But 4 wide on lap 1, these drivers were willing to push it. But we see what the results are.
And Brandon Hawkin really pushing in sector 3 over the back bumper of Scott Heckard, a little bit deeper on the brakes in sector 3. Not able to build up a run quite yet as they head off to the oval. Now keep in mind for Brandon Hawkin, this is the chance to have a big week. Of course, for those who do not know, has already competed in PAX Arena this year. He also won the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge for Canada. He's also in championship contention to win a steering wheel, a direct drive wheel specifically, come Sunday in the Mazda MX-5s. It's been a heck of a year for him. He's being patient, it seems, though, not willing to dive underneath Heckard quite yet as they still try and get a rhythm around this track.
And that doesn't surprise me, knowing Hawkin for as long as I have, that he's not going to push the issue too hard here. It's just incredible to ride on board with some of these guys. I was watching Will Rogers there through turn 12 and turn 13, and just the amount of counter steering those guys are doing is just simply remarkable. The amount that they're sliding around and having to continually correct the car, it's just insane. As here goes Brad Perez looking for a way around Brandon Hawkin for second.
Trying to go for the up and over as a little bit of a back tire squeal. Brad Perez now looking to the left side, heading off towards turn 8. This is one of the more tougher passing zones of the day, as near contact, Perez just avoids the back bumper. He had the fastest lap to start off so far.
And man, Perez cut it real close there, getting on the binders for turn 8 right there, but he's able to hang on. But again, this is where we're going to see these drivers. We have to see the amount of patience they have getting back on the gas here through turn 12, up onto the banking in turn 13. We see Perez again sliding around, Hawkin having to do the same thing. And then just with the gearing you're running in here, I think they're running in third gear, looking to shift to fourth down this straightaway. So that's why they are so loose there through turn 13. I believe it's just the amount of RPM they're carrying through there. It's just a lot for these guys to handle.
Jacob Fisher and Will Rogers also in this train, mind you. Here's something big though. How about biggest mover so far? And the drivers in contention for the non-stop shop 5-checker award early on. Plus 13, Nate Stewart, AJ Henderson. They're 6th and 8th respectively. They are slowly creeping on in towards the lead pack as they continue to scrap on forward. For Stewart, started near the rear of the field. For AJ Henderson, started shotgun on the field. Both of them kept clean race cars after the crazy first lap.
They were able to do it, but again, it was not easy with everything that was happening here. And of course, there's still a lot going on right now. I know Horowitz had a spill last lap. He turned off the nose of Colin Fern, and that puts him back a couple of positions. Right now, Fern in a close battle right now with Victor Valley right there for, I think that's for the 9th position. But they've kind of scattered here at the back of the pack, but just trying to find a way to kind of settle things down, get some heat out of those tires. One guy I'm kind of impressed though, AJ Henderson started in 21st all the way up to 8th. And
contact for the race lead. Scott Heckard, Brandon Hawkin make contact coming out of turn 12, side by side. Hawkin wants his lead back. To the right side, better pull though on the outside from Scott Heckard down the start and finish line straight. Perez trying to draft off the back of them. Hawkin backs it up. Heckard tries to hold it onto the outside. Similar line to what he did before, this time squeezed off though. Hawkin takes the race lead. To the grass goes Heckard. He cuts the course. Heckard goes to the right side as Hawkin takes the lead. Here comes Perez.
And Perez looking to capitalize on that mistake by Heckard, who looks like he has a little bit of a timing penalty, so he has to give up, get on the brakes. That's going to cost him a couple of positions after getting to do that. But, man, what an aggressive move by Hawkin as they went in, again, very hard to work through 1 and 2 here side by side. But Hawkin gave him the space, and unfortunately for Heckard, he knew it was coming. He just overshot that corner just a little bit. But how about Brad Perez, who has again, he had a solid run at Watkins Glen, but man, he has really taken to this Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course quite well, catching up to Brandon Hawkin and nearly looking for the race lead.
Well, he does have a lot of real-world racing experience, races with competitors in this field, mind you, including Horowitz. Elaine Hughes also among the drivers that he's raced against in his racing career in the real world. Hawkin, though, now leads by 4/10. Will Rogers is up to 3rd because of that mistake, who had a 1:31.1 last time by. Let's talk about Will Rogers, where we talked about his experience in real life as well. And with Space Station Gaming, well, he's been quick throughout the night. He was one of the quickest in practice.
Rogers was very quick, but again, he was one of those drivers I was really looking towards and riding on board with, going through turns 12 and 13, and I think him more than anybody was just really having to counter steer a lot, but it just seems he's found a way to make it work. And we haven't seen quite the gap build up. We have these top three. Heckard ran into some issues. Jacob Fisher fell back that last lap as well, but right now isn't something we've seen a whole lot. Usually we see Hawkin get the lead and kind of drive off into the sunset on his own, but for now we still have three cars that are all within about a second of each other, battling for position number one.
This is the final lap of stage one, and that has been how wild the stage has been and how quick it has flown on by. Fall off throughout the stage has reached more than 2 seconds already. Over Brandon Hawkin, despite the damage, leads by 0.8 of a second now. Tensions are starting to build up for sixth place of note. Nate Stewart and Nicholas Sanchez have met each other on the racetrack. Colin Fern and company are now backing up. Also, Lane Sabile has used a faster pair in this grouping. They'll come to the green and white checker this time to end off stage one. Again, stage caution is at the end of the second stage for this race today. But as these drivers cool on down, Brandon Hawkin looks to continue to heat up in the points. He'll outscore Scott Heckard by 3 in stage one. Magic number now 19. Brandon Hawkin wins stage one.
And Hawkin, Perez, and Rogers going to come home easily in your top three positions. But one thing I'm looking towards, we saw last week, Nate Stewart and Sanchez, we saw them make a little bit of contact. And, this is a bad... Oh, man, I don't think Stewart's going to lift here. Is Sanchez just going to let him go? I think he thought better of that. They had a little bit of contact. Sanchez got into Stewart. And, oh, man, they're still going after it. Sanchez able to find his way by Stewart. Cleanly, though, but I don't think this battle is yet over, especially with Stewart. Looks like he's going to give the position to Sabile there.
They both get stage points, by the way, as Sabile, that's not for position. That is 20th place on the racetrack with fresh tires and 54 seconds in the pit lane overall. As you can see on the right side of your screen, it was Hawkin with 10 points, Perez, Rogers, Heckard, Fisher, Sanchez, Stewart, Fern, Valley, Poe among your point scorers. This is getting a little bit overhand, or overboard, I should rather say. This is now ready to a second race.
It is into a second race with these competitors, but hey, I think we all can think of a couple names, if we're sim racers, of kind of rivalries that we've made over time, and people that you just don't see eye to eye with. You don't like racing with them. You feel like they drive you dirty, all that stuff. So it's something we can sympathize with, but you have to mention, I mean, we got 5 cars under a blanket right here running for the 6th position. Sanchez, Stewart, Colin Fern is pulled up to this battle. Victor Valley is also part of this as well. So this is where you kind of have to manage your situation. Obviously, you're not too happy with that guy in front of you, but the last thing you want to do is have somebody else get involved here. Is Stewart going to look to the inside in turn one?
And you can tell that damage really hurting Sanchez's straight line speed without the front nose, as he lets by Stewart for now. See how this breaks down as Colin Fern now looking to take advantage. Nearly overruns the corner as Valley overran the curbing. AJ Henderson in trouble down the front stretch. He's back rolling. No caution will come out.
And yeah, Henderson having a little bit of trouble there. And again, I'm just surprised at how many guys we've seen on the straightaways are having issues here running around here. But still, this battle for 6 has not stopped. We see there Sanchez right on Stewart. And again, Colin Fern not too far behind. As, man, we've seen more kind of packs form than we've seen in the past in this series. It's been awesome to watch.
Well, we had one of the craziest first laps of the season so far. We had one of the craziest battles for the lead so far. And now we have this building up once more. Of note, AJ Henderson has towed and gone to the pit lane in 29. So his significant damage will hurt his chances of finishing on the lead lap tonight. Colin Fern looking to break up this party. Making your 3 wide as now Stewart gets turned off to the grass. Stewart off the racetrack as Sanchez goes on by. Valley takes advantage too.
And that was an interesting case there because Sanchez had the run and Stewart was kind of in the middle of the racetrack, obviously gave room to Fern. But Sanchez, again, 2 drivers that haven't seen eye to eye. I don't think he was going to lift for Stewart if he was there or not. So Sanchez just puts it on in. And, oh, boy, again, I don't think we've seen the last of these 2 drivers just yet. And, again, only in the middle of stage 2 right now. There's a long ways to go.
How about this for Victor Valley, though? He's up 5 positions, quietly has kept a clean race car as well, and he's done a ton of work in 2020 in the sim race community, including building the brand of Moonhead, of course, which, for those who don't know, is a streamer on iRacing, and has essentially built it into the brand of Moonsport. With using his brand Slipstream Creative Media, also does photography work and several other aspects across the service.
It's very nice to see a lot of content creators be able to begin to use iRacing and how it's grown in the esports world, and how iRacing is beginning to resemble with whether it's the competitive ladder of things or obviously content creators who use this platform, particularly with everything that's happened this year, to see everything that's grown. It's really exciting to see. But you see up front, still not getting away quite just yet, as Brandon Hawkins still about half a second is what separates he and Perez. He makes up a little bit of time on Perez that time, extends it to about 9/10 of a second, but Perez is not letting Hawkin drive away here.
Yeah, Perez was actually within half a second a lap or two ago. He is falling off now with the tires right now to where he fell off 4/10 last time by. Hawkins stabilized the fall off to about 132.5 on the lap times. Of note, AJ Henderson still in the pit lane throughout all this, but still. The fall off is really kicking in for Perez more so than Brandon Hawkin in the early going, it seems.
Well, and Colin Fern drives off through turn 2, and he may get a slowdown here. Oh, he runs into the back of lap traffic. That's going to allow Sanchez to go by. I believe Fern may have had a slowdown penalty, but I think it kind of happens for him naturally right there, as you see Sanchez able to go on by him. Now here comes Nate Stewart and both Valley, who are a part of this battle, directly behind him. So these 4 cars, despite some contact, despite a lot of things, that there has not been a lot of separation between these guys.
Been a firework affair, to say the very least. We're already approaching 2 laps to go in stage 2, and one has been one of the quickest races all season so far. Sanchez still leading this grouping of cars. I'm surprised at how well Sanchez has really been doing in this race, where he's been hurt mainly down at in the straight line speed.
Oh, Fern is around.
And Fern's luck continues to go bad.
Yeah, that was just Fern. He got loose off of turn 10 and tried to save it, but unfortunately Stewart was there. I think just did enough to tag him around, but that was just the 86. Ran off the track through turn 1 and into the grass for turn 2, so cut the course there, and you can see Fern just like many drivers just ailing right now. Those rear tires are screaming at themselves and hoping that they can get taken off the race car soon, but Fern gets collected in that. But again, that opens the door for Sanchez and Stewart once again. Stewart's kind of been railing in Sanchez, and we know there's been I guess you could say contact that Stewart feels like he's been on the wrong end of 1 or 2 times in this race. So I can only imagine what's going to happen when these two, if they get close to each other once again. I think we may have something to settle.
I'm curious about that as well, as Valley still falls on behind. It's about a gap of about 1 second. Real quickly, before the end of this second stage, want to give a shout out to Dylan Poe and his run too, Blake, because he didn't score any stage points last week at Watkins Glen. He's quietly been having a clean run as well in the Kentucky Racing Machine, up to 9th, +3.
Yeah, and he was involved in that incident and the first lap, getting a little bit of front-end damage, but he's found a way to kind of continue on and make it work for him. So very quietly, good run for Poe, no doubt.
And the main thing is it's clean on the front is what I'm trying to get towards, as not a clean lap with the incident point there. But the back end damage doesn't seem to be really affecting him too much. At the very least, he might finish as low as 10th. It's here 9th or 10th likely as they enter the final lap of stage 2.
Well, he's got a pretty sizable gap right now on Colin Fern, who runs in 10th. So you'd think without an incident, without some type of accident, it's pretty possible that Dylan Poe is going to come out your winner. We'll see here if anybody's trying some strategy. I see Colin Fern is right now working his way onto pit road. This has been a pretty common thing for some drivers to trying to pit before the end of the stage and then gain that track position. And for Fern, who it's kind of fallen further and further down the order. Maybe was only going to get a stage point or so. Not really surprised to see him. We've seen Scott Heckard do this a couple of times, and again, we'll see if somebody does this coming to the line. Again, you can enter pit road and cross the start-finish line under green and still get those stage points. So we'll see if Heckard or anybody else is willing to do that.
It's still going to be potentially a fuel mileage race if he tries to stretch it from here. No fast repair used. Coming up to 17 to go in the end of stage 2 for Brandon Hawkin at another 3-point advantage over Scott Heckard. Magic number 16. Brandon Hawkin sweeps the first 2 stages. Brad Perez comes home second, while Will Rogers rounds out the top 3. Scott Heckard will come home 4th, while Jacob Fisher rounds out the top 5. And there's the risk I was about to get to as well. All the cartridges pit, except for Fern possibly, lost a lap.
Well, they lost a lap, but again, before the caution comes out, they had the potential to pass Hawkin. And with those fresh tires, you'd think that Columbia and company may have the potential or the ability to run down Hawkin here, again, with the just insane fall off that there is. And yeah, that's the case. You see Columbia hard charging, trying to get back to Brandon Hawkin before that caution is thrown. And of course, Hawkin just has to kind of manage it here. And oh, there's the caution flag. So Columbia not able to get past Hawkin. Fern lucky enough to stay in front.
He does get lucky, dog, as you mentioned, though. But your point scores are Hawkin, Perez, Rogers, Heckard, Fisher, Sanchez, Valley, Stewart, Poe, and John Garrett. After that pit stop from Fern rounds out those drivers. Of note, though, Devin Mistak, Sawyer Ott, Benjamin Branscombe will be among the drivers who will be potentially pinned a lap down with this caution flag timing and the timing of the pit stop. Keep in mind they can stretch it to the end of this upcoming pace lap and then can potentially stretch it to the end from here.
We'll see if they're able to do it, but again, you have to look forward to this restart. We saw on the initial start of the race just absolute chaos on that first lap. So you're going to mix in all of that, a couple of guys that may stay out here during this pit cycle, or at least short pit, but we'll have to eventually catch back up. The one thing here is with this pace car, it's going to be quite a...
Where is it going? Where's the pace car going? The pace car just went off into the sand trap twice over. Pardon for cutting you off. I think the pace car overran itself into the sand trap.
It did. Looks like, yeah, the driver of that Porsche maybe had a few too many before this, before we got going here, because he was off into the sand trap and just all over the place before he kind of settled out here. Just the 60 mile per hour pace speed. But yeah, we'll get a look at the replay of it. The pace car perhaps giving us some entertainment here off of pit road. Now you can see behind him, he's catching Brandon Hawkin, who's the race leader. Colin Fern is going to come into view here. And that didn't seem to make too well of a turn right there and took a little venture off into the sand.
And then ventures off the grass again and then ventures straight into Colin Fern. Colin Fern's okay. So there's that. He is on the lead lap, mind you, and then cycles back forward. Keep in mind that all these drivers are trying to catch up and roll their way behind the safety car to be able to pit here. Again, this would be at 15 laps to go for the race leaders. They can estimatedly make it from this mark, from what we've been told.
They should be able to, but for guys like Colin Fern that came down pit road, they're still having to chase the pace car here, right? And, you know, that's not a good thing. They're going to have to come out in front of Hawkin off of pit road and company if they want to retain that position. So they kind of have to race here under caution to try and get up front and catch the pace car, and they're having to go through an entire lap pretty much of driving to be able to do that. We see Columbia, the 17, the Ford machine, they'll take a wave around here to try to get back up towards the front here, but you know, these guys that Colin Fern and a couple other short pitters, they're having to kind of haul the mail right now under caution just to try and get back up and get in a position where they can take over that top spot.
Yeah, this is going to be a strategy that could potentially go the opposite way of what they may be hoping, to say the least. All the leaders, by the way, are now in their pit boxes. Brandon Hawkins starting off on the left side tires. Some of the drivers starting off on the right side, shuffling over to the right side tires, rather. We'll see who gets the best pit stop. Brandon Hawkins used the faster pair for the front nose. He's off and away as Perez almost beat him off the line. However, remember, that's the same line that Perez is going to be starting at, that Heckard took the lead early on with. On the outside, on the left side, rather, coming to the start and finish line.
Wow, so Brandon Hawkin just barely able to beat Brad Perez in front. That was a tight race off of pit road, and again, that's an interesting pit exit right there to try to maneuver around. But Hawkin able to do that, and now again with the speed that the safety car has, they have to do a little bit of work to catch him here under caution.
Yes, indeed. So the race off the pit road was Hawkin, Perez, Heckard, Rogers, Fisher, Sanchez, Valley, Poe, Stewart, and Fern is your top 10 at the moment. Keep in mind that Horowitz, Garrett, Armstrong among the drivers who also have rolled to the pit lane. Ott has also come down a second time throughout this caution flag. With that, more action for Rain Around the Roadies is coming up. You're watching SDN Racing from the Brickyard. Stay around. Welcome back, everyone, to Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana, for more coverage of the Overton Speed Shop. All brick, no bite, 75 for Rain Around the Roadies, presented by Fort Worth Screen Printing. Additional pace slack coming up here this time by after several drivers are still in the midst of trying to catch up to these cars you see here. Your race leaders, Colin Fern, along with Sawyer Ott and several others, ended up coming in the pit lane this past time by as well for additional service. Sawyer Ott also topping off an additional time under this caution flag. There is unlimited tire sets for this race. Keep in mind for drivers to choose to do so. Benjamin Branscombe also, keep in mind, went off the racetrack. That also held things up a touch. And we also have Arnold Columbia, the lucky dog, still having to come around the racetrack, who just took service the past time by. Justin Prince, Blake McCandless, Zach Johnson, the director's seat for this action, as all the drivers are getting themselves grouped together. And the bonus points are going to be critical from this point forward, you'd have to think, because the Overton Speed Shop Fastest Lap Award, it's not in the credit of Brandon Hawkin at the moment. It's Brad Perez still with that 130 flat. There could be a chance that could change here after this restart in about a lap or so to get $5, but the valuable 3 bonus points rather towards the championship column, especially in the Heckard versus Hawkin battle.
Yeah, every point going to be crucial here, but you know, the one thing that has held steady is Hawkins' speed, and even if he doesn't take home a win tonight, I just think it'd be hard to go against the body of work that Brandon Hawkin has put together this season to not be the favorite or the championship winner. A lot would have to happen, but you know, that's why we run the race. And again, with the last lap that we saw, we could definitely imagine a scenario where something befalls him or gets loose into one or something of the sort, just because of how crazy it's been. But we added a pace lap here to get everybody caught up. I believe we'll see the lights off on the safety car this time, and we'll have another lap to pace around and get ready for these guys to try and do battle once again for what will be, for some of them, probably the longest run of the race.
It's actually going to be 12 laps, which will be the combined total of the stages, essentially, if they restart on this lap specifically. So in other words, it'd be about dead even with the first green flag run we had of the race before the end of stage 2, possibly. On that note, though, Blake, you'd have to keep in mind that it was a crazy first lap. Again, for those who missed, there were several drivers with incidents early on, and a 5-car battle for the lead for the first 5 laps in stage 1.
Saw a 5-car battle for the lead. We saw drivers drive off through, get punted through turn 1. They were off track in turn 2. They were 4 wide between turn 7 and 8. That didn't work out. So anywhere imaginable, you could think of some chaos happening. It happened on this first lap, and we'll see once again we get restarted. And again, there has not been the separation in this field that we've seen in a lot of road courses at the past. Everybody, at least up front, running relatively even lap times, so it'll be interesting to see if we see any plays by a couple of players. I mean, Brad Perez, for example, hasn't exactly been running up front, or at least leading a lot of these races yet, but he's definitely had the pace to keep up with Hawkin. Who's to say he doesn't try something to try to grab the race lead, take that track position, and make Hawkin kind of have to be on the march here. It'll be interesting to see with Heckard and Perez. I think this is their best opportunity to try and win a race here. So how aggressive will they be on this opening lap? We'll have to see.
And don't forget, Heckard, who started this race in 3rd, actually pushed Hawkin to the green flag just about. So don't be surprised to see that again from the Dale Senior throwback machine on the inside of row 2. Once again, starting 3rd, that same positioning. We also have the Space Station Gaming machines in 4th and 5th for this green flag. Stage 3 of the Overton Speed Shop, all brick, no bite 75 is all set to go. It's Hawkin, Perez, Heckard, and Rogers, the top 4. Heckard pushes the back into Hawkin again. Green flag's back out. Once again, we're back rolling.
And again, that helps Heckard get a pretty nice jump there. He's actually going to clear Perez as they'll work into 1. It looks like he's going to have it solo, but here he comes. He's going to give a shot to Hawkin. Hawkin going to be able to save it. He goes into the grass, but Heckard to the lead. Oh, that's not going to work out. Not enough room there. The 84, what an amazing save from him. But Heckard with the bumper goes to the race lead over Brandon Hawkin.
And a little bit physical now for Scott Heckard with the championship points on the line. Fern and company in a bit of craziness. Fisher near contact with Fern in the back of the field once again. Fern having some problems once again as he's been shuffled up with Jacob Fisher. Heckard now with the squeeze as Hawkin goes for the race lead on the left side. Contact again with the left rear this time. Perez now takes away 2nd. No, he gets turned into the fence. Perez across the racetrack. They crash down the straightaway. Crashes Hawkin into the fence with Rogers. Your points leader and Will Rogers both crash down the front stretch. No caution. Now there's the caution, as this could change everything.
And we haven't seen many caution flags flown this season, but it appears that well warranted it right there. Is getting off at turn 7 and into turn 8. A lot of drama. This is the first caution we've had this season that has not been the end of a stage. So, oh boy, a lot happened there. Heckard with the bump and run. Perez and Hawkin get together off of turn 7. Colin Fern was having a bit of an interesting lap there. And then, of course, even later on in the lap, Will Rogers, Brandon Hawkin get together. Oh, man, just insane right there. You can see it on your screen.
And you have to understand the desperation for Heckard. If Hawkin gets max points on the night, then he likely clinches or potentially gets close to it. But everything else past that, wow.
Yeah, you see right there, Rogers and Hawkin just kind of get glued together. Didn't seem like there was a whole lot they could do to separate each other. Hawkin trying to come off the wall and kind of get away from that incident with Perez, but there was just pandemonium all over this racetrack. You see, obviously, he and Perez get tied together. It's hard to see. I think Perez, he still has that fast repair, so it looks like he'll be good to go, but that was some heavy damage for the 38 car. Obviously, Will Rogers Brandon Hawkin, you see the 06, it looks like, gets into the Armco barrier there on the left side. And Colin Fern had some heavy damage, but don't believe he's got a fast repair left to fix it. And of course, Justin, you got to mention with the just insane tire fall off that we've seen here, these guys are going to have the potential to come down pit road and get a fresh set if they want it. Are they going to take it? That, I think, even just one lap, and you got to think a lot of these guys have been up to speed under these caution laps. So I think pitting here is a real possibility for some of these guys, and not just the ones who obviously are going to come in and get their fast repair.
And for Brandon Hawkin, he's used his fast repair. Remember that contact we mentioned in stage 1 and 2 from the first battle for the lead that had front nose damage? That's when he used it. He's now got significant damage. This may be his drop week. This is the first time Brandon Hawkin has been in an incident all series. And yes, indeed, it looks like a majority of the drivers elected to come down to the pit lane in here as a result of the craziness, except for Heckard, Sanchez, along with Horowitz, Nate Stewart, Victor Valley, and a couple other Sawyer Automons drivers who elect to stay out on the racetrack. Everybody else coming in either from contact or for another set of boots.
Wow, everybody comes down pit road, and except for those players up front. And I got to think a lot of these guys, again, I like the tire call. We've seen how big of a difference it has made. And of course, a lot of these drivers don't have an option, right? Brandon Hawkin, a couple other drivers that are missing the noses on their machines, they're just going to come down and get that fixed up here pretty quickly. But the other thing is we're going to be pacing around here for a little while. So I know we have 10 laps to go at the moment, but I think we're not even on the one to go right now. So at the very least, we may have just about 8 laps left for these guys to try and get it done. So, and you have to think every single restart we've had here, we've had just absolute chaos. So it is going to be insane. We could see even another caution thrown. Who knows?
Yeah, these restarts have been absolutely insane today. Our second big incident on a restart, our first caution, not for a stage end of the season. We'll take a side-by-side. You're watching STN Racing for the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Iracing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. Iracing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iracing.com.
Welcome back to what's been a wild Overton Speed Shop all brick no bite 75 in Speedway, Indiana. At the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Justin Prince, Blake McCannell, and Zach Johnson with you in the director's seat. Run SDN Racing for coverage of the rain around the Roadies, presented by Fort Worth Screen Printing. For all of your retail and contract screen printing needs, visit fwscreen.com. Shipping's available nationwide. This race has had it all tonight, from big incidents to big battles for the lead to big tempers to big sends. This has been the race of the season, Blake, arguably.
It really has, and again, there is still a lot to be decided. But we've had contact, we've had rivalries, we've had just everything you could ask for in a race here in the ring around the Roadies. It's had the most so far, and again, we still are going to come back to green with 8 laps to go. And I can't tell you who I would favor right here. Obviously, Scott Heckard's in a great position, but I think tires are going to matter. We've seen a lot of moves being made. Heckard put the bump and run through turn 1 to Brandon Hawkin. Does somebody like Horowitz or Nate Stewart do the same to him? Just a lot left to be decided. I can't wait to see the green flag drop here.
Yeah, this is going to be entertaining, to say the very least. And keep in mind, drivers who pit are about 9th on back. Fisher leads that grouping. Heckard leads the rest of the field to the green flag. A big launch for Scott Heckard. He's off and away. Nicholas Sanchez already to second. Nate Stewart with a better run, just about clear for third.
Looks like Stewart's going to be able to have Horowitz for third, but Sanchez, a major mistake. Is he going to come back across and tag Heckard? No, he is not, but he is going to have a penalty. 1 car spun here on the front straightaway. It's Colin Fern. Brandon Hawkin trying to sift his way through from about 18th as he shoved it in the middle 3 wide, but at the moment, Heckard now has the lead. Sabile is off the racetrack.
And Sabile all over the race circuit, and here's the crazy part in all of this. Apparently, right as that's how it happened, the fastest lap of the race for Brandon Hawkins all been set throughout this. Apparently, it's a 1:29.4. We'll have to double check that one, as that would have been coming to the green flag, Blake, or that.
Yeah, absolutely crazy to think about that. But how about Nate Stewart, through all that, has emerged and is in the 2nd position. So Stewart, perhaps somebody who really likes these stock cars on road courses, maybe he has something to try and chase down Heckard here.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And Nate Stewart, a ton of experience on the road courses on the sim, loves them a lot. Several cars spinning behind them. Will Rogers snaking across. Valley and several more nearly spun onto the oval. They were drifting. All these cars in this pack with Rogers were sideways. They're still sideways.
Yeah, they are just sliding around everywhere, and the aggressiveness is taking over. We've seen them kind of take it easy through these first couple of sections, but now this is when it matters, and they're getting more aggressive with the throttle, all of that. So it is really turning into something here, as we've seen Hawkin trying to march through the field in P12, and right now he's just trying to make his way through a lot of chaos in front of him. Arnold Columbia is in front of him right now, and Hawkin he's going to try to pick these guys off one at a time, try to hold on to all those points that he can. 1 car off. It looks like it may have been Stewart. It was. Stewart cuts off Horowitz. They make contact.
And now Horowitz among the drivers bottled up here. Rogers able to jump on by. Sanchez up to 2nd. Heckard's already in the lead by 4 seconds because of all this. Big sins coming right behind them. Look at that. That's Brad Perez up the inside, making the pass on Jacob Fisher. He's already back to 6th after being turned.
Yeah, I think this is what we're being shown, that tires mean everything right now. Perez just a little bit fresher than his competition, but look at what he's turned it into, and some guys really, really loose in front of him. I know Brian Horowitz hanging on to that race car with all he can, so I think Perez, more than anybody right now, maybe has the potential to go up there and try to steal this thing away.
He's able to make the pass on Horowitz, as Will Rogers has caught up to Nate Stewart as well. You see that up the road. Bit of contact in the backdraft for Columbia, but the battle going on for third sees Rogers outbreak Stewart. Stewart, though, with the squeeze, no. Can't quite make it stick in the entrance of turn 1, as Perez is already up to them. Keep in mind, it's a tough road to close up if you are Sanchez and company. to get up to the race lead, especially with how hard they're still fighting here. Look at this, Nate Stewart on the preferred bottom line now, able to make some passes as they head towards turn 6 and 7.
Well, Stewart was hanging on to third, but now it looks like he may find himself in fifth. Is Perez able to work his way by? Perez going to try to go to the bottom. Stewart has to check up slightly for him, but Perez, that tire advantage so crucial. It looks like he's going to get a great run off of turn 7 down the straightaway. Perez looking for third to the inside of Will Rogers.
And taking a huge send as Rogers forced up top and able to make a move, a bit of contact. Nate Stewart hit in the back end by Jacob Fisher. Up running the corner now is Perez. He's forced to the right side of the racetrack through turn 11. And it's been a tough spot all day. Turn 9, 10, 11. That whole complex is so tight and so tricky, especially with a 90-degree corner. That's essentially like going to a street intersection to lead up before heading to the oval.
It is tough, but moving. Oh, Stewart, a big wiggle off. You see another driver through the grass there off the corner. That is John Garrett, who's trying to get back up. He's going to have to work through the access road to get back onto the racetrack. But one thing that has happened in all of this, look at the lead that Scott Heckard has managed to build up. 5 seconds over Nick Sanchez, the longest, or the largest lead, rather, we've seen at any point tonight. All this chaos going on behind him, but Heckard is in that clean air, and he is not having to worry about a thing up front.
And on top of the tear that we're seeing for Brad Perez to try and get his way past this battle for second spot, what about Brandon Hawkin? Well, he's already up to 7th. He ran a 1:31.6 last time. Not as quick as the leader, yes, with that damage, but he is closing in on Stewart, on Fisher, and that whole grouping for second still.
Yeah, Hawkin, unfortunately for Stewart, he's just made a handful of mistakes here, and looks like one car is off here through, it looks like Sanchez perhaps not having a good go of it right now. He was way off the course here through turn, I think it was, yeah, turn 9. Sanchez, unfortunate for him, he was running up in the second position, and you know, I just love the way the universe works sometimes. Puts him right in front of both Brandon Hawkin, but guess what? Nate Stewart is right around him as well. So sometimes these things just work out perfect. It looks like Hawkin going to try to make a move. This is for 6th on Nate Stewart.
And he's now the quickest car on the racetrack. That time by Heckard, a 1:31.9. A bit slower for Hawkin with the traffic, but was quicker last time once all the time cycled their way through on the pylon. Hawkin up to 6. Victor Valley of no contact with Brian Horowitz for the battle going on for 9th position. Shuffled Horowitz off the track.
Yeah, it looks like just a little bit of competitors' disagreement. The call over the radio is all good there. They understand what happened, but Brad Perez able to make his way by Will Rogers for 2nd. So does Perez have enough time to go and try to chase down Scott Heckard? I think Perez, he's faster, but I just don't think he has enough time to get up there. He's got about 6 seconds, 6.5 seconds that he's going to have to make up, and I just don't see, without a mistake coming from Heckard, I don't imagine that Perez has the pace to be able to chase him back down.
With this type of race, don't jinx it, I think is what Scott Heckard's probably singing along as. Here comes Rogers now to make it a still fight. And keep in mind, Rogers, with a decent amount of sim experience as well, is really cooking those rear tires. And we were talking about this earlier tonight. If you lose the right rears, especially with the fact that the temps on the tires go higher and the tire wear is higher now with the new build, you're likely to lose them for much of this race, similar to how it was the right front the previous build.
Yeah, it's once you lose them, you can kiss them goodbye, and you have to do a good job of saving it. We'll see what Perez made up on Heckard that time. Again, it was about 3 or 4 tenths of a second, but over 3 laps, he's going to have to make up about 2 seconds a lap. Now he's in clean air, and now they are fighting each other for 4th as Brandon Hawkin able to go by for 4th, and now Sanchez and Fisher side by side. Give it to Sanchez for the moment, but here comes Sabile up the inside. Oh, Sanchez around.
And what was that? They made contact in the sand as what was Sabile doing?
I think that was retaliation there from Sabile. That looked to be pretty intentional from the 4 there. As obviously they got together, but Sabile did not lift and made a hard left to turn around Nick Sanchez. So I'd have to say it was likely intentional right there. You saw them continuing to go at it through the corner there, and Sanchez spun out. But Nick Sanchez has not made a lot of friends in this series. Well, let's just say that.
In other news, Brad Perez is pulling away from his friend Will Rogers. In other news, on top of that news, Brandon Hawkins is now 4 seconds back. By the way, that move that Hawkin made was apparently 3 wide. That's how crazy it was, to the point where Fisher was in the grass trying to hold on to it. What a charge for Hawkin to get himself towards a podium position. He needs to close up 4 seconds in 2 laps to do it.
Just an incredible feat. But again, the one thing that is working for Scott Heckard right now is time, and it is running out for the rest of this field to try and chase him down. Again, Brad Perez to the better of about 0.4 of a second that last time by, but again, just not enough at this current pace. Again, Heckard just has to hit his marks right here, not make any mistakes, not see any of that sliding that we've seen a lot of these guys fall victim to, and he should have it done. But again, a valiant effort for Brad Perez and several drivers who drove all the way from the back on these tires and through traffic, which we have seen has not been an easy thing to do to try to get back up front.
Ways to separate out, but things are still getting heated up for about 8th on back, should note. As they come towards the white flag, Brian Horowitz, along with Jacob Armstrong, Victor Valley, Dylan Poe, along with Devin Mistak, all hooked up bumper to bumper. This is all while once more they're coming to the closing stages of what's been the race of the season here in Ring Around the Roadies, presented by Fort Worth Screen Printing. The final lap from the Brickyard about to get underway for Scott Heckard. He leads by 5 seconds now over Brad Perez.
And Scott Heckard will take the white flag, which is what he wanted to see. Didn't need the potential of another caution flag being thrown. And again, it's been the Heckard and Hawkins show for a majority of this season. We've seen Colin Fern put up a couple of fights, but again, Scott Heckard looking to go to victory lane for the first time this season.
And Brad Perez looking for his best finish of the season second. Will Rogers, one of his best finishes, in third right now. That's all still with Brandon Hawkin and Jacob Fisher in rounding out the top 5. For Hawkin, it'll be the first time all season he hasn't won a race. It'd be likely his drop week, Blake. But you have to give him credit for the comeback.
I certainly think you do, and I think a lot of drivers in this field wish that 4th running position was their drop week, but considering all the circumstances, considering how damaged he was, as you see Heckard rolls by. Who's that right there? Oh man, that's Nick Sanchez. Oh no, I think I know what's coming here.
And he may have blown up, possibly. We'll see. Yes, he's been told on race control to pull to the side of the racetrack. For Scott Heckard, though, coming through the final corners, he's been one of the quickest drivers all throughout Ring Around the Roadies so far. He's gone back and forth at tracks such as Circuit of the Americas with Brandon Hawkin. But tonight, he finally breaks through. After a physical race, he slows down under 3 seconds now. The gap, it's not going to be enough to close for Perez. Scott Heckard is a winner in Ring Around the Roadies. Brad Perez second, Will Rogers, Brandon Hawkin the top 4, while Jacob Fisher rounds out the top 5 as they crash at the start and finish line.
One of the benefits of virtual race cars, you don't have to pay for the damage. These guys, obviously some respect between a lot of them, racking them up after, giving each other some congratulatory bumps right there. But at the end of the day, strategy and whatnot out the window. Scott Heckard was just playing fast today. Perez, Hawkin really showed the way, and Heckard had the track position at the end that he needed, and he just used it to set sail and just completely check out on this field. Nicely done by Heckard, who finally has really been due a victory in this series, and finally is going to be able to do it.
And of course, there's a lot of physicality, I have to say, tonight. But do you blame him, though, with the championship? If he has the win go the way of Hawkin, the championship is much more difficult. Now tonight makes it a more realistic shot for the finale to try and come away with the victory.
Again, we know anything can happen. I think you'd be hard pressed for Hawkin. It's going to take something catastrophic for him to really not have a chance at the championship. But the one thing is for sure that we never know what's coming in this series. I think tonight is a perfect example of it. You never know what's going to happen, and so you always just got to say there's a chance going into next week. You can run the best race you can, do all you do, but sometimes those circumstances will fall into your lap. But I think for tonight, it's not so much about the points. It's just Scott finally getting a well-deserved victory. I think he's going to be more happy about that than anything.
And for Scott Heckard, he'll get the chance to celebrate. His Dale Sr. car finally breaks through to victory lane, and it's at the Brickyard. He gets to kiss the bricks. The Overton Speed Shop, all brick, no bite, 75. Well, the bricks definitely bit tonight, though, as Brad Perez comes back from getting turned to a second-place finish to this man, Scott Heckard. That's by 2.5 seconds after 3 seconds lost in the final sector alone for Heckard. Rogers comes home in third. Brandon Hawkin rounds out the top four. We'll be speaking with those drivers in a few moments for post-race coverage, while Jacob Fisher rounds out your top five. Nate Stewart finishing sixth with Victor Valley, Brian Horowitz, Devin Mistack, and Jacob Armstrong, your top 10.
Dylan Poe brought it home in 11th. 12th was Leighton Sabile after some late contact there with Nick Sanchez. 13th went to Arnold Columbia. 14th, John Garrett. 15th was Sawyer Ott. 16th to Elaine Hughes. 17th, 2 laps down. Didn't make it to the end was Nick Sanchez. 18th was Benjamin Branscombe. 19th, 8 laps down. Not a great running for Colin Fern compared to his last couple of efforts here in Ring Around the Roadies. 20th was A.J. Henderson, and that was it. That was your 20-car field. Both Rahman and Cherry in race control did a good job keeping these guys between the lines. But I know one of them is happier than the rest of them, and that is Scott Heckard, who's in victory lane with Justin Prince.
Yes, indeed. He'll get the chance to celebrate his first victory in this series. Scott Heckard breaks through to victory lane. How does it feel to be a winner in Ring Around the Roadies?
Let me tell you what, that was a really fun race. I actually came in a little less practice than I usually like to get, but it was a really challenging track. Just the way the tires fell off made it really fun to battle everyone kind of late in the run. And I just decided I was going to go for it today.
Let's start off with, the craziness, because while the name said there's no bite, it seemed like everyone bit, from the track to the emotions. Talk us through that battle that gave you the race lead before things turned to calamity straight away.
Yeah, I feel like I was trying to set the tone on the first initial start of the race that, I was going to basically do everything to at least make it a fun battle between me and Brandon, and Brad also had awesome pace, and Will. My goal always was just to get in, and I felt like I had enough pace, especially the second run. Once I kind of had the long run figured out better, that I could stay up there. And obviously after I got in front of Brandon on that second restart, it was craziness behind me.
Why do you feel it was so crazy here at Indy?
I don't know. You kind of go right into a bunch of series of really tight corners, so everyone's all stacked up on each other. You have this long run to the first corner, so everyone has a lot of speed, and then it's really slow. So you have really good opportunity to outbrake people, or in my case, get to the back bumper.
Yes, indeed. With that, of course, the championship battle, there was a separation of more than 40 points with and without drops. That does close up a little bit possibly after tonight. Keep in mind there is the drop likely for Hawkin for tonight. It puts you in a decent shot for the championship. What's kind of your approach to that for the final race?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it possible. That's all I could ask for. I didn't want to go into the last race having it be already locked up. So, I'll still race Brandon hard. I'm not going to do anything crazy, but, I basically lay it on the line next week and try to win it.
By the way, can confirm that the best lap time does go to Hawkin still with the 129.4. Your best was 130 flat. On that note, anyone you want to thank for your victory?
Yeah, man, I just once again, the series has been a ton of fun. I thank you guys for putting it on. Just been a blast every week, and chasing Brandon has been a challenge, but it's makes the win even sweeter. So thanks, guys.
Congratulations on the victory tonight, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Scott Heckard, your race winner from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He wins by more than 2 seconds over Brad Perez. For Brad Perez's best finish of the season, he gets to stand by with Blake McCandless.
And Brad, what an event that you had. It looks like you had victory at your fingertips for a little bit. You get turned, but then an incredible march through the field to try to get back up to Scott. How was it from your vantage point?
It was a very interesting race. I figured from the jump that we weren't going to have the pace to get anywhere near the 99, but I realized as the race went on that we could really get him, especially on the long run. So I tried my best to stay with him. That last restart was really the whole deal breaker of it all. I felt like I was going to move him going into turn one no matter what. Like I'm telling you right now. So when that happened and kind of ruined my teammate Jake's race, I figured like we got to get it done. Then he turned me, so there it is. But glad we got to drive back and finish second. So I'm stoked for Scott. Scott deserved to win that race. So we'll go on to the Roval.
And I think for this race, more than any other that we had this season, talk about just the challenge, because the amount of sliding, the amount of counter steering, all that thing, all those things that were going on for you guys tonight. Tonight looks like we've seen a lot of difficult tracks for these cars to try and tackle, but for some reason, this car, this setup, something about it just made it look like such a challenge for you guys out there.
Oh, absolutely. These cars are just ridiculously hard to drive. Like of all the stock cars on Iracing, this one takes the cake as probably the worst. So like it's really just, can you save tires and can you be eggshelly with your throttle pedal? So for sure, I think also the tire change, like that update that they made, definitely threw a wrench and everything. Now you have to like relearn how the tires work and everything. But like I love road courses, obviously. So getting to adapt to it is super fun. So I'm glad that a series like this exists where we can see awesome racing that's hard to drive, and that's why you see guys like Scott and Will up here, dueling at it, because it's kind of like how real life is. Maybe this might be a little harder.
Certainly so. Well, Brad, we'll throw the mic one more time. Anybody want to give a shout out to? Here's your chance to do so.
I want to give a shout out to John Palmieri, Speed Visions. Give a shout out to Jake Fisher, Racing Underdogs, Living Room Dance Floor Bar Visuals, especially Speed Visions for painting me this awesome Scott's car that, oddly enough, Scott won the race. So I guess I cheered him on through my paint scheme. So.
Well, Brad, we appreciate you. Congratulations. One spot short, but man, you guys really put on, I got to say, from a broadcasting perspective, definitely the most entertaining race we had this season. So nice job on your finish, and we'll let you go out and enjoy it.
All right. Thanks, homie. Thanks for putting this on, everybody involved.
All right, that is Brad Perez. He brings it home in the second position, and finishing up in third, Will Rogers hung on to it. He's caught up with Justin Prince.
Yes, indeed. And Will, you had an exciting race as well with the battle between you, Brad Perez, as well as the craziness around you. How would you describe the race from your cockpit as you went back and forth across the top six all night?
Yeah, it was definitely an eventful race as far as the racecraft went, I think. This racetrack is really difficult to get around, especially in these cars with the tire model the way it is. So you're kind of just babying the thing all night, and kind of just picking your battles and really waiting for somebody in front of you to make a mistake. So I was the benefactor of a few of those mistakes being made in front of me. I also made a few mistakes and benefited people behind me. So that was definitely interesting. There wasn't really any strategy tonight other than just pitting halfway, and then that other caution that came out just past halfway. So that wasn't too much of something in my mind for this race, but otherwise it was a good event. Really happy that Scott Heckard won one of those. My buddy Brad got second, and we could close out third place with my Space Station Gaming number 55.
I have to ask you this on your perspective on that note with the caution flag, because you did get hooked up, believe it was, with Brandon Hawkin. What happened there?
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea what happened. All I got to say is karma.
Okay. On that note, your approach for the season finale coming up next week.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the season finale is going to go. It doesn't look like I'll be able to attend, as I'll be out of town for the holidays. So I have gotten the go-ahead from Monin, the man in charge, and said I can actually have somebody sub for me. So I will try to find somebody that's, decent enough on road courses, and especially at the Roval. Maybe he'll give me a chance to secure that third in points. Funny enough, I had no idea I was close to being third in points leading up to this race, and obviously finishing here. So now I have a little bit of motivation, and hopefully we can seal that up.
Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
Yeah, Space Station Gaming, obviously all of their partners. We've got some super exciting stuff coming very soon. Actually looking at a Q1 announcement for us to be doing some really fun things that I think a lot of people can follow along with. And thank my buddy Jake Fisher, who's also on the Space Station gang, my buddy Brad Perez in here, everybody else that's helped me on some iRacing recently. They're really helpful. So just stoked to be part of fun leagues like this. Appreciate it, guys.
Congratulations on the third place tonight.
Thank you.
Well, Rogers, third place this evening. And those thoughts and comments make things even more interesting for the fourth place finisher standing by. He's with Blake McCandless. It's Brandon Hawkin.
Well, Brandon, long race for you, but what a drive there through the field to end this. It's been a bit of different position for you than I guess you've been used to.
Hey guys, yeah, that was definitely an interesting one. I don't really know what to say. I would have thought, certain people would hold themselves to a higher standard than that, but it's all good. I was happy to come home with a fourth place finish after getting absolutely destroyed. So, we'll look forward to next week. I was hoping for a really clean race with Scott there. He did a really great job, and what happened after that was I don't know, it was pretty uncalled for in my opinion. But it is what it is.
Well, those things happen, but the one thing that helps is a lot of speed, and we know you've carried it throughout this season. We were chronicling your battle. You win both stages, help yourself pretty substantially with the points, and it seems like you just keep the tires on it. You're pretty much a lock for this championship, and just kind of talk about that, and obviously the season you've had here.
Yeah, it's been a really good season. To come home with I think 4 of the 5 so far. That's I couldn't really ask for anything more. So we'll just look forward to next week and hopefully seal up the championship.
All right, Brandon. Well, we'll throw you the mic one more time. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Just like to thank everybody who puts the series on, Mon and Lee, Fort Worth Screen Printing. Everybody just puts this thing together. You guys in the booth. It's been a really fun time. So unfortunately it's coming to an end next week, but hopefully we do this again because it's been a lot of fun.
It has been. Well, Brandon, congrats on your fourth place finish. It was a hard one, but you definitely earned it, and we'll look forward to seeing you back next week.
Thanks, guys.
That's Hawkin, who brings it home in fourth. Justin, up to you.
And the lap time you've been following along with, by the way, is your Overton Speed Shop Fastest Lap Award. Again, Overton Speed Shop, the sponsor of this race, as well as a team which creates official custom setups for McConey Setup Shop. That is a unique perspective to get the bonus points. I haven't seen a fastest lap under caution before in any type of race in the past. Those points could be valuable as well after tonight.
Yeah, it certainly could. Again, every point matters, and again, just an interesting thing. That's just the type of race that this was. It did not disappoint. I got to be honest with you. I was thinking we were going to have a really difficult racetrack. There's going to be a lot of spread in the field. We were going to really see who could manage their tires and whatnot. But just these restarts and the chaos was something that I don't think I was expecting. But it certainly made for a very exciting race nonetheless.
Yes, indeed. And by the way, real quick, we want to mention that your biggest mover was Nate Stewart for the Monstop Shop 5-check reward. But to make your look pop, check out Monstop Shop for unique apparel such as the 5-check collection. Let's also take a look towards your upcoming races, shall we? For the upcoming schedule here on STN Racing, Right Around the Roadies heads over to the Charlotte Roval for its finale next week, just 2 days before Christmas at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to tune in on December 23rd, once again here on STN Racing. It's also the place where you can find the FTF Grid National Series presented by Bar Visuals, starting January 23rd. Coverage will start at 10 p.m. Eastern Time from Daytona International Speedway. That's in the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars. Then the 2021 IGB 400 starts off its action with qualifying on January the 3rd. Then heat racing and LCQ night, January 8th all the way up to 10th. The main action takes place January 10th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Once again, you can catch that on STN Racing. Lots of action coming up across the networks, but real quick, Blake, your final thoughts on this one. Okay, on that note, it's time to say goodbye. For my broadcast partner, Blake McCandless, for director, Zach Johnson, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching STN Racing from the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana, for the Overton Speed Shop All Brick No Bite 75.